Thank you all for coming. As you may know, Senate Bill 449 has passed, and I wanted to take a few moments to talk about the original intent behind that legislation. My original intention behind Senate Bill 449 was for Augusta to acquire the property, the statues, and to abolish the Georgia Golf Hall of Fame Authority, and thereby alleviate the state government of its bonded indebtedness, as well as the challenges associated with having to maintain and upkeep that property. As we know, the property has largely been unused for the past 4 years with no benefit to the city or its citizens. With the debate ongoing about the baseball stadium, I want to make sure that folks understand that I stand committed to my belief that during these tough economic times that we should not be placing that burden on taxpayers to fund the new stadium. I therefore urge Mayor Copenhaver and the governor to give some assurances that any proposal to build a baseball stadium either receive voter approval or not be financed at taxpayer expense. While it is clear that I could in fact stop this bill from final passage, I truly believe that passage and signature by the governor is in the best interest of Augusta, her citizens, and the great state of Georgia. I'm equally committed to seeing private development take place in Augusta and specifically on this property, and therefore urge the Augusta-Richmond County Commission and our mayor to seek every alternative in deciding how best to use this property and to get it back on the tax rolls of Augusta. I believe private investment is in fact the way to do that. I also welcome investors from throughout the state of Georgia to take a look at this property and to consider viable development opportunities, and I pledge my support as the senator from the 22nd District to help ensure Augusta's growth and its future progress as it relates to not only this property, but all of the things that are important to us in moving our community forward. And finally, I want to take an opportunity to thank the members of the General Assembly for joining me in supporting our local community and the people of Georgia with Senate Bill 449 and its passage. I came here to the Senate to represent not only my neighbors and our friends honorably and effectively as a legislator from Augusta, and I'm very grateful to all of my fellow legislators and lawmakers for helping make this valuable bill pass this session. I look forward to working with the governor to make sure that it is signed into law. And then I also want to thank the delegation members from the local Augusta legislative delegation for their support in the final passage of this bill through the House. Thank you, and I'll take any questions at this time.
It almost sounds like you're making sort of a threat. I mean, you're saying that I can stop this bill. Is that what you're saying, that you want to hear some assurance from the mayor before you ask the Senate to agree to the House version?
Well, no. What I'm not doing is, quote, threatening anyone with agreeing or disagreeing with the bill. What I want to make sure that everyone understands, especially our folks in Augusta, to include the mayor and others, is that if a baseball stadium is the ultimate disposition of the property and that proposal moves forward, that it either receives voter approval if it's to be financed by taxpayers, and if it's not that way, I want some assurances that the taxpayers will not be on the hook for financing a baseball stadium from either the mayor or the governor, that they will look for alternative sources of funding for this.
Are you saying you want those assurances, though, before the Senate adjourns tomorrow night?
That certainly would be helpful, but it's not needed. Again, as I said earlier, I believe that passage and signature of this bill into law by the governor is in the best interest of Augusta today and tomorrow, and I will move expeditiously in working with the governor to get it signed into law.
The bonded indebtedness on this property is $2.8 million. Is that going to be the minimum starting bid of this project?
It will be. The minimum bid will be $2.8 million. The bill in its current form states that the property will be sold at competitive bid for fair market value, not less than bonded indebtedness. So $2.8 million becomes the floor, if you will, and it could go upwards based on 3 appraisals.
The excuse me, City of Augusta had $6 million of its own money in this project. Did they just lose a bet here and they're just SOL?
Well, again, I wouldn't say that the City of Augusta has lost its total investment. We have been successful again in the current form of the legislation to get the statues transfer it back over into the city of Augusta, not later than January 1, 2011. And then, of course, there has been an investment of roughly $6 million, and that was for the acquisition and, of course, the cleanup and further development of that property. But I think long-term Augusta will win in this situation with long-term private investment. And so I think, again, it's a win-win for everybody to see future development. I'm just cautious in terms of what that will be.
So the sweet and short of it is that you could stop this but won't, and you're not demanding any sort of commitment by the city to not turn it into a baseball stadium.
Well, again, no threats associated with this legislation are what we're discussing today, but I want to make it very clear that it is important to the citizens of Augusta as their senator and at the same time to other elected officials in our community that the citizens of Augusta want to make sure that if a baseball stadium is considered for this property, that they have an opportunity to weigh in on that as opposed to being hit with some taxpayer expense, whether that be through taxation or some other form. And that's what my role as senator is, to say that, look, I want to see this property developed, but let's do it the right way. Let's make sure that we're giving our citizens an opportunity to be a part of that process. And I think that's what we're doing. And I will move swiftly to work with the governor's office to make sure that we pass it, because it is in the best interest of Augusta and certainly the state of Georgia.
And is there a requirement in the bill that it be publicized nationally, regionally, as a marketable property, so that there will be other bids other than the city and maybe one other person?
Well, there's no language in the current bill that it do that, but I'm confident that the State Properties Commission will in fact look for every bidder. They will make it known through public means that the property is available for sale, and I am confident that we'll also have a host of suitors who are looking for a viable piece of property. This is prime property right in the heart of downtown Augusta, a piece of property that I think has a great deal of interest.
It's right on the river, isn't it?
It's right along the river.
Yeah.
What about maintaining this and just simply cutting the grass between now and the sale? Is there any assurance that the state would do that?
Well, again, the property belongs to the state currently. I know that there's been a lot of civic involvement in terms of the cleanup of the property over the last several months. I anticipate that folks are still interested in doing that. But with this current movement, with the bill about to be signed by the governor, I would hope that other parties would get involved to include the city of Augusta in making a short-term investment to make sure that the property is maintained. We're reaching that month where tourism is very key here in Georgia and certainly in Augusta, where folks are coming during the summer months at the end of the school year, and they're visiting Augusta, and especially downtown Augusta, and we want to make sure that that property is maintained in its best form. And I'll certainly encourage our local folks to get involved in that and making sure that we clean it until such time that the property is sold.
What does that mean, that you don't expect that the state would do anything to clean it up?
Well, you know, again, if we look at what's happened over the last several years, the state's not been involved in cleaning it up. And so I don't have any assurances or any real expectations that the state will weigh in on that at this time.
We got time for one more question. You guys, anything else? Okay.
I'll ask you about something completely different, the whole issue of the landfill gas. I mean, have you heard from the city about that?
I have not heard from the city at all about that. None of the local folks have communicated or contacted with me about you know, what they're proposing. I do know that there's some concern from the senator from the 23rd about that, and I have that equal concern.
Okay.
Again, thank you all so much for coming.